Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads. I started my reading week with 6 volumes of Bleach by Tite Kubo, starting from volume 25 and ending with volume 30. Bleach is one of the great manga series of the last 25 years. It's about a young man named Ichigo Kurosaki who can see and interact with ghosts. One day he meets what appears to be a young woman named Rukia Kuchiki, who is a Shinigami, a Soul Reaper. Her responsibilities are to travel to the world of the living and make sure that the souls of the deceased transition into Soul Society, the dimension where the souls of the departed exist for a period of time before reincarnation. Part of her duties is also to cleanse the spirits of hollows, monstrous, wandering spirits that have become fallen, corrupted, and have become feral. Hollow is attacking the clinic where Ichigo and his family lives, and Rukia is attempting to cleanse the Hollow. However, the Hollow wounds Rukia, and in order to defeat the Hollow, Rukia transfers her Soul Reaper abilities to Ichigo, transforming him into a substitute Soul Reaper. After many adventures being Rukia's substitute, Ichigo eventually becomes a deputy Soul Reaper. He's not an official Soul Reaper because he's still living, but he, over the course of his adventures, develops his own Soul Reaper abilities. After an adventure in Soul Society, Ichigo and his friends and former enemies are preparing for the current main antagonist of the series, Sosuke Aizen's next move. And so a number of Soul Reapers have come to Karakura Town, where Ichigo lives, to protect the town because Karakura Town, it will play an important role in Aizen's schemes. So Bleach Volume 25 begins with Ichigo seeking training from a group of former Soul Reapers named Vizarids, who are Soul Reapers with hollow abilities, much as Ichigo does. He has an inner hollow, the cover model for Volume 25. So eventually Ichigo begins to get the training from the Vizarids, and the other Soul Reapers begin their own training. Also, Ichigo's friends Orihime, Chad, and Yuryu begin their own training to get ready for Aizen's invasion. It's at this point that Orihime is kidnapped by one of Aizen's top lieutenants, the number 4 Espada Ulquiorra, while the new number 6 and several other Espada and the former number 6 Grimjao invade Karakura Town to engage the Soul Reapers who are there. With Orihime's kidnapping, the Shinigami in Karakura Town retreat back to Soul Society, and Ichigo and his friends invade the world of the Hollows, Weko Mundo, to rescue Orihime, and they are eventually joined by Rukia and Renji, who is one of the Soul Reapers who were former enemies who have become quite close to Ichigo and his friends. So once they're in Hueco Mundo, they meet some surprisingly friendly hollows, Nell and her friends, and they also invade the Palace of A's in Las Noches. And the forces split up, and Ichigo, Chad, and Yuru face some former espadas. While once those enemies are past, Rukia takes on the 9th espada, Eraniro. Renji encounters the 8th espada, Cielaporo. Chad takes on the 5th one, Noitra. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's kind of weird. Yuryu is, I already know, going to join in on the fight with the 8th espada alongside Renji. And at the end, Ichigo confronts the 4th espada, Ulquiorra. So I really enjoyed these 6 volumes. They were a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to more volumes of Bleach, which I will be ordering either at the very end of December or beginning of November, because I'm just having a blast with these. I also read 3 more volumes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 6, Stone Ocean, by Hirohiko Araki. So JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a long-running manga series that has been going on since the late 80s. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure can be broken down into, I guess you can call them individual manga series. So this is the 6th series of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's about Jolene Kujo, who is the estranged daughter of one of JoJo Bizarre Adventure's main protagonists, Jotaro Kujo. Jolene is framed for a crime she did not commit and is sentenced to Green Dolphin Street Prison. This frame-up is in order to draw out Jotaro, who, in a previous installment of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, defeated the long-term big bad of the series, Dio Brando. Several of Brando's adherents are either imprisoned or work at Green Dolphin Street Prison and have their own plans to take revenge on Jotaro and, by extension, his daughter. During Jotaro's attempt to break out Jolene from prison, his stand and his memories are taken from him. The main antagonist of the series has a stands are superpowers called Pale Snake, which is capable of transforming memories and stand abilities into CDs. And these memory and stand CDs can be implanted in other people and can also be viewed. And Pale Snake has, and the user behind Pale Snake have their agenda, for which Jotaro's memories are vital. Inside the prison, Jolene develops her own stand ability. She can transform her body into string, the stone ocean of the title. In the prison, Jolene makes a number of allies, among them Hermes, a thief who got herself in prison so she can claim revenge on the man who had her sister murdered, FF, a sentient stand in the form of Plankton who has possessed the corpse of a deceased inmate, Emporio, who is a young boy who was born and raised in the prison and can use secret rooms in the prison thanks to his stand, and 2 male inmates, Weather Report and Anastasia, who had appeared in previous chapters as a silent presence. But in these volumes, he becomes more prominent as he aids the Jolene and her other allies because he has fallen in love with her. And so these volumes begin with Hermes taking her revenge on the crime lord Sport Maximum, who has a sustained ability to transform the deceased into zombies. And he did a service for Pale Snake. However, that does not save him from Hermes's revenge. After this, Jolene gets herself thrown into solitary confinement, where Pale Snake has a number of other stand prisoners sort of there to try to assassinate her and to make sure that what he's after comes to fruition. And this is where Anastasia comes into the picture. And eventually everybody breaks out of the prison in an attempt to stop Pale Snake's and the user behind him, whose identity is, while revealed to the audience before now, is revealed to the protagonist at this point. And it is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed reading these 3 volumes. There are 3 volumes left. I have one behind me in one of these boxes, which I will haul next week. And I have the final 2 volumes pre-ordered. So, really looking forward to it. I've been having a blast with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean. Now, not everything was perfect on the manga front. As part of my Remember December and Bell Redemption December TBR or plan pile, there were 2 volumes of manga, or 2 manga series, that were included in Bell Redemption December. Because, try as I might, I have not managed to get into them. And this attempt also failed. So I'm going to start with Tokyo Revengers by Ken Wakui. So Tokyo Revengers is a time travel story centering around youth gangs in Tokyo. It's the story of a young man named Takemichi, who in 2017 is a 26-year-old man with very little prospects. He goes from one dead-end job to the next, never advancing, always getting fired, and so prone to apologizing for anything and everything, to the consternation of all who know him. On July 4th of 2017, Takemichi hears on the news that his junior high school girlfriend, Hina, and her younger brother, Naoto, were killed due to the actions of the Tokyo Manji gang. A few days later, at a train station, Takemichi himself falls onto the train tracks as a subway train is approaching him. And he has his life flashes before his eyes, and he finds himself back 12 years earlier when he was 14 and a junior high school delinquent. He and his friends are traveling to a nearby junior high to rumble with their age mates at this other junior high. Unfortunately for this group of idiots, it's not their age mates that they meet, but the older students, who are even worse delinquents than they are. And they get the snot beat out of them and are effectively enslaved over the next few years. After this beatdown happens, Takemichi goes to his girlfriend's apartment and they talk for a little bit. And his desire to try to save her is sort of ignited. And he also rescues her younger brother Naoto from some bullies. And it is there that Takemichi tells Naoto that in 12 years, he and his sister will be killed on July 4th. And that shortly thereafter, he himself will fall and be run over by a train. He and Naoto touch, and Takemichi finds himself back in 2017 in the nurse's station of the hospital. Train station. So sorry about that. But I am 16 minutes into this. I am not going to start over. So anyway. So Takemichi comes to at the nurse's station at the train station, and he learns that he was rescued by Naoto, who managed to survive his death a few days earlier. What happened is that Takemichi, instead of having his life flash before his eyes, he actually mentally traveled back through time and possessed the body of his 14-year-old self. His conversation with Naoto changed the future, and Naoto, not entirely sure what he did in the first timeline, but in this new timeline, he has become a police detective, specializing in organized crime in Tokyo. And while Naoto managed to survive, Hina did not. And so Naoto recruits Takemichi to go back in time and try to change the past to ensure that Hina manages to survive. And Takemichi, not really having anything to do, does so. I have tried to get into the series. I think this is my 4th attempt. And I am torn. On the one hand, I love the artwork in this series. The artwork is just amazing. I love, particularly the character work. It is just really, really good. But I don't know, there's just something about it that I have not yet been able to get over. And I think a lot of that has to do with Takemichi. He is just not an appealing protagonist. He's whiny and just not appealing. I don't think he quite works for what the story needs, because in a way, I mean, now we never quite see Takemichi as a juvenile delinquent. I mean, it's older Takemichi possessing him. So to what extent was 14-year-old Takemichi really quite the juvenile delinquent or not? But I don't quite buy it. And even though, I think as the story progresses, he'll get over the annoying aspects of his character, more than likely, but I can't quite get over it. So I don't know if I'm going to give it a 5th attempt or not. I mean, at the moment, I'm not really hurting for space as far as manga's concerned. and I would like to, because not being able to sort of progress with it is certainly annoying me. So I think I'm going to give it another shot sometime in the future. Which is weird because Ken Wakui's new series is going to get the English language release late next year in August. And I already went ahead and looked at the first chapter. I actually quite like it. Maybe it's because the main character is more of a standard shonen character, even though his take on the Yakuza is bizarre. But I'll get to that in August or September of next year. Anyway, moving on to the other manga series that has been giving me trouble for a few years now, Orient by Shinobu Ohtaka. I love Shinobu Ohtaka's previous series, Magi: The Labyrinth of Magic. Orient is set in an alternate reality in which, during the Warring States period or Sengoku period of Japan, demons in the guise of gods invade Japan and conquer it. 150 years later, these demons in the guise of beneficent gods have largely ruled Japan for 150 years, with some resistance from some surviving bands of samurai. Two young boys at the beginning of the story, Musashi and his best friend Kojiro, aspire to join the samurai and fight against the demons. 5 years later, Musashi is training to become a miner, and he is one of the best of the sort of upcoming generation of miners, even though he still wants to join the samurai and wants to free his village from the demons. But he just can't articulate it publicly. Meanwhile, Kojiro, as a descendant of a samurai family, is relegated to the lowest rungs of society. And eventually, Musashi and Kojiro will rise up and join the samurai and liberate their hometown. But while I managed to finish this volume the first time I read it, every subsequent time I have, it just does not, I don't get on with it. And I largely end up kind of stopping at the same point, where Musashi is frustrated with himself because he wants to publicly articulate that he wants to be a samurai. He doesn't want to be a miner. He doesn't want to serve these monsters. He wants to kill them and free Japan. And he just can't do it. And his friend Kojiro, who, as circumstances would have it, is pretty much has nothing really, seems to have given up. And some of the tension between the two friends is that Kojiro doesn't really believe Musashi's earnestness. And I think as I'm reading it, the thought occurs to me is like, okay, you want to free your village from these demons. Here's the thing. You don't go out of your way to advertise that. Because unless you have, like, the samurai actually at your back, or you're actually working for them, you're one person who is going to basically get themselves killed in about a few minutes after you say you want to be a samurai. And I think that's what bugs me, is the fact that Musashi is very much your standard shonen protagonist. And while that can often be a great thing because your standard shonen protagonist and the variations of these characters can be quite delightful, sometimes the story needs a different kind of take on the shonen protagonist. A more ruthless one more conspiratorial, one that's not so bubbly, so energetic, but one who, okay, how do I go about joining the samurai or working for them, or what's the best way I can free my village, free my region, and ultimately free Japan. So I think that's my issue with this story. Also, I think it's a bit heavy-handed because these demons present themselves publicly as being beneficent. And then once he becomes a miner and is sent into the mines, it's like they're actually incredibly jerky. And it's like, seriously. I mean, a bit more could have been done with that, I think. Because either have them just dispense with the disguise of being benevolent and have them jerks from the beginning, or have them keep the appearance of being benevolent throughout until push comes to shove, or there's incontrovertible evidence of it, something. But it's just, I don't know. So again, this is my third attempt at Orient. Do I want to give it a fourth? I think I do. I don't really want to end it at that. So I think I'm going to give this another go too. I don't know if I'm going to give it that attempt by the end of this year or sometime in the new year. I think I really want to be in a much I don't know. I'll explain it when I get around to it. Okay? So let's move these guys over here and talk about what I will be starting today. So I will be rereading Perdido Street Station by China Mieville. This is the first of the Boss Log novels. It's set in the city of New Crobuzon. It's about a rogue scientist who is trying to create a perpetual energy machine. He is a mercenary scientist, so he gets his money by being a scientific advisor for various interested parties. He is approached by a Garuda who has had his wings amputated. And this Garuda wishes to have his wings restored to be able to fly again. And so the scientist goes about figuring out how to give this Garuda wings. And in so doing, he unleashes a plague of monsters on the city of New Crobuzon, and he must go to otherworldly and strange entities to gain their assistance in order to defeat this plague and to perhaps give this man, this Garuda, his wings. At the same time, his girlfriend is hired by a crime lord to make a sculpture of him. So, when I first read Perdido Street Station about 18 years ago, it blew me away. I have reread it a few times since, and it's never had the same impact as that first read. But it has been a very long time since I've read it last. About 10 years or so. So hopefully, after such a long time, it will have that impact. And if not, it is what it is. Now, if I manage to finish Perdido Station in time before next weekly reads, I may try to get Weaver, Scribes, and Kings by Amanda H. Podany in. This was one of my favorite books from 2022, I think. Was it 20? Yeah. It came out in 2022. Or was it 2023? I think 2022. And I enjoyed it. It's about the ancient Near East. And I picked this for my contribution to, or I guess my takeover of Remember December, since I think I'm the only person doing it this year. Anyway, in a way, I have run out of time for this book, so if I have time, I'll get to it. If not, I think I will have a go at it sometime for Historathon 2025. We shall see. That's the plan. Because I also do have more manga I could read. Again, I do have back there a lot of manga that I have collected over the last few weeks. That I'm basically waiting until next week to open as Christmas presents for myself. So, anyway. Yeah. Okay. So, that's weekly reads. So, as far as video next week is concerned, at some point I want to try to do look ahead to my booktube plans for 2025. I have tried to make them 2 days so far this week and haven't quite worked out. I think in part because I'm including my participation in booktube events, and that's kind of falling apart, or where the video falls apart. But I'm going to try it again. I'm also going to finish up the alphabet tags from the alphabet tags created by Jim of Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. I've been doing a reprise of them, and I've been enjoying it. I have X and Y and Z to do. So that'll be Tuesday and Thursday. I might also try to get in a few more tags. There are a number of Christmas themed tags making their own, that I would like to do. There's also a tag that I was tagged in that I would like to do. And I may also try to do a few look aheads for 2025, reading wise, book buying wise, that sort of thing. So yeah. And also on Christmas Day, there may be either an early video or a later video in which I basically have a massive manga haul, because there's 2 big boxes from Pals that I ordered, and one from Book People and Amazon. And I'm kind of thinking maybe I should have held off on the Barnes & Noble one as well. But then I wouldn't have been able to read Bleach this week. So, anyway. So, I'm starting to ramble. So, I will sign off for now and see you next week. So, until then, thank you. Have a great afternoon and evening and weekend. And I will see you on Monday. Thank you, BookTube, and stay safe.